want to get started on the very first CloudGoat lab. So let me bring it up. So if you can go to the Code Lab site. So already you should bring up the CloudGoat exercises. We're going to do the very first level. It only takes a couple of minutes. And this is the IAM privilege escalation by rollback level. So if you click on this thing, and so this is why I asked you to bring up Cloud9 at the beginning, because I'm gonna show you how to solve this level in Cloud9. In fact, you can walk along as I do this walkthrough, and then get your screenshots as you need to show that you finished this, because this level is highly vulnerable. So this level is not gonna, I'm gonna take this level down as soon as we're done with this. And so there is a link to a Google Doc that you can all click now and then get access to the credentials for this lab. So I've already clicked on it here. And I see you all are coming in. So you see that this project has been instantiated on my AWS account. This is the policy. You're not going to need this, but this is the policy ARN for this policy. This is the so you're going to have to configure the Rainer account from the AWS CLI. So that's the access key for the Rainer account. And then this is the secret access key. And so when you type in AWS configure, these are the two values that you would send in. The username we'll be using in different commands in this lab as we go along. So this will be apparent later. Okay, so I am going to now bring up my AWS account, which I should hopefully have here. So here I am. All right, I'm still good. I want you to bring up Cloud9. You can also do this if you've installed the AWS CLI somewhere else. Like you could actually SSH into Linux Lab, create a Python virtual environment, and then do a pip install of the AWS CLI, and then do this lab as well. But I want to show you Cloud9. Cloud9 is basically a development environment, since most of you are developers as well now. You can do this within Cloud9 just as easily. So I'm going to launch Cloud9. And so you can create your own environment and then just call it Cloud9 shell. I am going to, I have one already built. So I'm going to open the IDE. And it's going to start an instance for me. Hopefully there's enough instances to accommodate all of us in this region. I've never done this before synchronously, but yeah, hopefully this works out. Let me get more screen real estate. And the first thing I want to do is configure the Rainer account with the credentials from that Google Doc. So I'm going to copy this command and then start with that first. One of the things with Cloud9, so because we are running this through Vocarium, Cloud9 will automatically update its credentials for AWS configure with the accounts credentials that we have been given. And so the way to do this is if in Cloud9, if you go to your preferences, you can see if you, where is this thing? AWS settings. This is typically clicked on, and this will automatically import your Vocarium account credentials into your Cloud Shell session, so that when you are navigating the AWS CLI within Cloud Shell, you'll be doing the Vocarium account. Now, we want to explicitly disable this because we want to take on the identity of Rainer, which are, you found these account keys. And so you want to use those instead. So I'm going to instead say, you know what, Cloud9, you don't get to manage my credentials for me. So I'm going to set that up. And then what Cloud9 will do is, well, if you have code, you can see code, but we're just going to use it for the CLI. So I'm going to create a new terminal here. From window. If that went by too fast, it's a window. And so let me see if Control+ works to make this bigger. Themes. No. Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Control Shift plus doesn't work? Why? All right. Does anyone know how to change the font size here? That's not it. All right.
Under View font size.
Thank you. Control plus. I thought I did that. Wait. That's not highlighted for me. Oh, okay. Forget you. All right. So I'm going to do an AWS configure with that profile. And then I'm just going to copy and paste the credentials that I got back here. Make sure there's no stray characters here. No.
Somebody just put it in the chat too, but settings terminal font size works. I just tested it on mine too.
Okay, thank you. Settings. Which settings? Project user? No.
It was the wheel one that was in the top right.
Oh, all right.
When the window size changed, it disappeared.
You can get it from the preferences as well. It opens up the same one.
Wait, which tab here?
It should be user settings.
User settings. All right.
Then terminal.
Thank you. Okay, so then that's the access key ID. Oh, I lost my other window. This is hard with everyone highlighting in a Google Doc. All right. And then you can see that the account, those credentials are there if you did it again. All right, so that's the first step, configuring your credentials. Whoops, where's the code lab that I had? Okay, so this level, one of the things that, so the scenario that we're gonna do is, say we have an IAM user who starts out as an admin and then maybe shifts role. So maybe an operation administrator and then shifts role into developer role. And we wanna reduce the privileges on this particular user. So we basically attach a new version of a policy, a permissions policy for that user. But in terms of removing the access for this particular user, we fail to completely remove all access. And in fact, one of the accesses that we fail to remove is to be able to set their own policy version for the IAM policy that applies to them. And so this is a privileged escalation by rolling for the user to roll back his or her policy back to the one that gave them full administrator access. So that's the idea of this particular level. And so so if you did the wrong, so this is not the recommended thing, attaching a policy directly to a user. If this is the way you have done your IAM settings and you have then updated the versions of that policy for that user as the user has progressed through your organization, then one of the things that you would want to do is just introspect what policy versions have been assigned to this particular user. And so that's what this command is going to do. And again, you have to specify the IAM username for the policy that you're trying to access. So this profile is going to determine the credentials that you're going to use. But then you need to be able to say, well, what's the IAM user that you're accessing it for? And that's part of the credentials that you're given. You're actually given the username here to be this. So that's what we're going to do in the UI. So, whoops. and then bring this back and get this username. I think that, does that actually copy the whole thing? Right, what happened there? Oh, it didn't copy and paste. Wow. All right. Oh, that is not good. That's not the credential. Wait, hang on. Oh, there's some extra spaces in there now. Hang on. Wow, was that me, or is that, did someone, do you have editor access to this, or is this, am I going, hang on a second. I have editor access.
We all have editor access.
Oh, that's a fail. Oh no. Here we go. Oh no. That's not a capital letter. Yeah. Okay, that's kind of funny actually. There we go. All right, so that so this lists the attached policies, and so this is the Rainer policy. So I've attached this to a user. This is the policy ARN. So like I said before, everything is identified by an ARN. So this allows you to get at not only the name but the ARN of the policy. And then from here, if you have the policy ARN, there's also a command that allows you to list it if you have been given permissions to do the listing. So these commands are being entered into a terminal that has the AWS CLI installed. And so this is where Cloud9, if you launch Cloud9 and you launch a terminal, this is where these commands are being entered in. And I've already pre-configured this, this profile that I have there. Okay, so that lists the attached policy. So this is the next step of the code lab. And now you want to see, well, what were the versions of the policy that were associated with this user? So again, I need the policy ARN that is part of this policy, but I can then, I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. And then I can actually give it the actual policy ARN. And then you can see these are the different policy versions that come back. And you can see there are 5 different versions. And one of the attributes, and this will be the answer that you put in the code lab, well, which one is the default one? And you see that version 1 appears to be the one that is being applied right now. But then there's also these other 4 versions of it as well. So that's basically the answer to this question. And then you want to see what these policies look like. What version, like if I could go back, if I could actually set which version I wanted, well, I would actually look at which one has the most privileges and see which one is the one that gives me God mode on this project. So then this is what, this is the AWS command for getting different policies. So again, I'll do the exact same thing. So it's the same command as the list policy, except it's a get policy version with the policy ARN, but then I can specify the version ID. And so that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go back to this, this command here. Do a get policy version. Whoops, get policy version. That's the profile. That's the policy. And then I'm going to do -- version ID is V1. And this is the default one. And you can see it does a get. So you can get the policies, which is what this one, this permission allowed you to do. You can do the list. And that's the permission that allowed us to do the list policies for this profile. And then you can see this. this allows you to set the default policy version. So this is the thing that's going to actually allow us to do the rollback. So that's not good, because that means that V2, V3, V4, and V5 are available to us. So then let's take a look at V2. And so this is V2, and V2 looks like all actions are allowed on all resources. So this looks pretty good. This is pretty much everything. This is like the bank. This is everything. I've got everything accessible. Let's take a look at the other ones. So this actually finishes the lab. Yeah, this actually finishes the lab. So if you look at the output, this version definitely allows us to do everything. But I'm going to show you version 3. So this is just, S3 listing buckets getting, this isn't so bad. We want more though. So this is version 4. Just does an IAM get. So again, this is pretty innocuous. And it's got a condition that says only for a specific period of time. So this one actually doesn't give you anything, because it looks like the condition on this is to be in between these two time ranges. So 6 months. So this is, again, a conditional policy that allows you to, if you had a temporary role, you could actually specify the role to be the duration of a contract programmer's developer contract, maybe. So that's the idea there. Got a question about, oh shoot. Oh, I've been really behind on the questions. Yeah, you should be doing this along with me if you can. And I'm going to take a 5-minute break, or 5 or 10-minute break before starting the next level, so that people can get caught up on this. And then I'll take questions during the break to make sure everyone can do this. We are in 4.5 part 3. Yes. Yeah, and this is the actual end of it. So yeah, there are only 2 more steps here. All right. How do you shut down the Cloud Shell console, the Cloud9 instance? I think it will shut down automatically after 30 minutes. It's pretty cheap, so I always let it just expire. Okay, that key information, hopefully you can get to that Google Doc. Hopefully it's not too munged up. Okay, so so hopefully you could see that V2 has the full admin privileges now. So we're going, this is V4, and it allows you to get IAM policies only for a certain time range. So that's pretty innocuous. Version 5, this is basically a deny policy. So you definitely don't want to do that. Like if you rolled back into this policy, my whole level would break. I mean, it would be super secure, but then I would have to reinstantiate the level, because basically this is going to deny everything. Unless you're from these IP addresses, which I'm not on any of these IP addresses. So yeah, if you actually did a set policy version to this V5, like any of you right now could do this command and then completely wreck this exercise. So yeah, please don't. So the last thing I end with is that, yeah, there is this set policy version, default policy version command. And because you were given in the V1 version of this, the set default policy version, you are now, the V1 policy allows you to set the policy version. And so you could say set policy version to this version, and then you would have then escalated your privileges to basically access everything on my account. So please don't do that, because I'm going to be taking this down momentarily, but I don't ask you in the code lab to actually do this because yeah, you would mess the lab up for everyone else if you ended up doing that. Yeah, if you get a message about not being able to update the credentials, it means, I think it's attempting to automatically go and configure those credentials, but because you have disabled it, I think you might get that error. And that's from the chat. Okay, so with that, I'm going to take a break, a 5-minute break, and then we're going to get started with Cloud Breach, which is basically the Capital One lab. This is allowing you to replay Capital One's Cloud Breach. And then I'm going to stay on and help people who are still going through this code lab to get finished, because this particular level is going to be torn down at the end of this class. And I'll be instantiating the next one in the break. Okay, so what I wanted to show you before the last lab was this picture. This is basically what we did. We had Rainer with view policies, and then Rainer saw all the policy versions, and Rainer also had the set default policy permission that allowed Rainer to roll back the policy to something where that account had admin privileges. And then we skipped the step to actually do the setting. The next level is basically replaying the Capital One breach. So when the Capital One breach happened, so CloudGoat actually has been around. It was like, it preceded Capital One by several years. But they had a scenario that was almost identical to the thing that compromised Cloud Breach, or Capital One. And so they immediately released a this particular level, Cloud Breach S3, that basically allows you to play through that scenario. Basically a web application firewall in front of an application, vulnerable to an SSRF that allows you to then pivot into the metadata service to compromise the credentials of an EC2 instance. So this is a picture of it. You're going to be sending HTTP requests to the IP address that has the WAF, which is the IP address that's both in the Google Doc and on the chat now. And then you're going to do an SSRF using that special URL that we talked about earlier. And by doing so, you can get into the metadata service, and there is a role, an EC2 role attached to the virtual machine. And this is the banking WAF. So the banking refers to Capital One, and then the WAF is, this is a device that's meant to protect Capital One from attack, but instead it enabled the attack rather than protect against the attack. And then this role is then going to allow you to list an S3 bucket and then to do a copy or a sync of that S3 bucket locally. And then from here, you can exfiltrate whatever data you want to. And this will be finishing the level. Okay. So that's the scenario that I want you to do now. So you can go to the next part of this code lab here. So you start with the IP address, exploit the misconfigured reverse proxy, get the instance profile, and then use that profile to list the S3 buckets and then copy the data. One of the things that I want you to do, you won't be able to access this IP address from your home machine. I think I have this ACLed to only allow access from Portland State IP addresses. So what I want you to do is first SSH into Linux Lab or linux.cs.pdx.edu. All right, people are caught up. So the access to this particular instance is shut down because, again, I don't want people. This one's not so bad if the credentials get exposed, but in fact, yeah, maybe I don't know. I just have this ACLed right now, but you can do this entire level by SSHing. Well, not the entire level. You can get the tokens, the access key and the secret access key. You can get that from Linux Lab, and then we'll copy and paste it into your Cloud Shell AWS installation. So that's what I want you to do first is SSH into Linux or Linux Lab, and then use curl to hit the web server on the IP address that I have just given you. So let me do that. myself. So I am going to do a curl. Why does this stuff want to show up? And then this is 34, 238, 166, 174. And you can say this server is configured to proxy requests to EC2. Well, so they're giving you the punchline on this thing. Modify your request's host header and try again. So the way you proxy requests is that you send an HTTP request to the WAF, but rather than using the host name of the WAF, you're actually retrieving what is your destination URL as the host header typically. And this is what we talked about when we talked about HTTP. When you get a URL, the GET request or the POST request gives you the URI, and then the host header will say, well, what's the site I'm trying to access? So in this case, if we want to hit the metadata service, then the host header needs to be the IP address of the metadata service. And that's what we're going to do next. If you go back to the code lab, which is here, we're going to specify the host header to be the metadata service. We're going to do the exact same thing, but then try and see what the metadata service gives us. So this is what I'm going to do, -H. I think this actually works. Whoops, maybe I do need the whole thing. And of course, I forgot the host. Oh, that's embarrassing. All right, there we go. Yeah. So this is the welcome to the metadata service. There's a bunch of different versions of this. So you can see different versions of metadata. So let's do the latest. Let's see what's in the latest. So again, I can, this is, you're connecting up into the web application firewall, but saying that you're accessing this URL. So now what I want to do is, you know what, I actually want to instead connect up to the WAF, and then instead I'm going to get this host name with this URI, and that will get me the directory on the metadata service. So again, this is the proxy, but because the host header says this is the destination URL and then this is the URI, it's actually going to get http:// metadata service /latest is the idea. So that's this one, because I actually want to get the latest version. So, and then you can see this is the latest version, the latest format of the metadata. So then that's what I'll look for next. And then you can see this is all the information from the metadata service, all that good stuff that we had shown earlier. And then I want to get you straight to the access key. So I mentioned that you can get your access keys and secret access key from this service. So that's basically what this is. The latest metadata IAM security credentials is the next area. And you can see the banking role. So banking WAF role. So then if you get this, let me copy this. And then do an up arrow. And then do a paste. You get everything. So this is the access key ID. This is the secret access key. This is the token, because this is, you know, the short-term token. And now you can use these credentials. You can go back into Cloud9, configure a profile, the erratic profile, that contains these credentials, and then use that to see if you can do a listing of S3 buckets on my project, which is the next step. So I'm going to go to my AWS, my Cloud9 somewhere. Here I am. I'm going to create another profile, and this is the erratic profile. And this is actually described in the code lab. Let me bring the code lab up to show you where I'm at. So this is basically the first 3 steps of this code lab. And I want you to, show you these. I want you to show these things to me. And we saw the access key, secret access key, and token already. So the next thing is to configure that profile on your Cloud9. And note that the AWS configure command doesn't allow us to specify the token. So we have to basically go back, do this step first and do the key ID and the access key. But then later on, we have to go and edit the credentials file to add the session token. So that's what I'm going to do next. So I'm going to configure this profile. The access key is in my shell. So this is the access key. This is a secret key ID. And same region. And one of the things I want to show you is, first of all, with the rainer command, AWS S3 ls-profile rainer. So this is access denied, right? Rainer doesn't have these permissions, but what we've just done is we've compromised a new account, and this is the erratic account because this is the banking role. The banking WAF role has different permissions, and we just got the credentials for this this role. So we got the secret, the key ID and the secret access key. One of the things that is associated with this credential information is an actual token. So we have to specify this. And the way you specify the token is this AWS Session Token thing. So we got this as well. So I want to copy and paste this blob. Hopefully this is still fresh enough that it's still useful. So that's the token. And now I can try and do an AWS S3 ls using the profile erratic. And this is where you can see now I have S3 ls access, and this is basically everything on my project you can list. So you can list this bucket, the serverless repo bucket. So this is the thing that's running your serverless goat application. I don't know why this is here. This is for a later level that has an old version, but this is the one, right? This is the cardholder data that got exfiltrated from Capital One. So then I would do, using this profile, I would do a ls of the actual bucket that I want to see the information from. So let me copy this thing, paste it. And then you can see there's these CSV files. So then what I'm going to do is I can do either a cp-r or I can do a sync command. I'll do a cp-r. Of that bucket to ./cardholder data and then -- profile erratic -- recursive is the flag on AWS S3. So -- recursive. And then this downloads the data from that bucket. And I think for the code lab, what I want you to do is give me the first 2 entries. The first 2 entries of the CSV files. So then this would be head, whoops, Oh, I put it in my credential, oh, whatever. I'll do a head-2 of cardholder data star.csv. And then this is what I want you to screenshot, that you have managed to exfiltrate the cardholder data. Okay, so let me then, let me see here. Oh, how do you edit the credentials file? You can actually use the cloud. So if you don't know Vim very well, I did it through Vim, sorry. Yeah, that went really fast. Nano works. You can actually, in the Cloud Shell environment, I believe, if I can figure out, oh shoot, they don't give you, they put you in home Ubuntu environment, but they don't allow you. Dang it. So PWD, so it's in home Ubuntu AWS, I guess. Yeah, people use Nano on this thing. So this is, and obviously this session token goes way off the line on this, but I was hoping in Cloud Shell, you would be able to just use the file explorer. But I think it puts you into this environment directory. Sorry, yeah, using Nano, I guess. Yeah. Oh, VI works. Okay, good. Sorry. Yeah, I guess if someone knows how to get outside of this Cloud Shell environment, let me know. Oh, wait. There it is. Okay, so show home and favorites, and then click on home, and then click on AWS, and then click on credentials, and you have a real editor. Yeah, and then you can do things like save. Wait, save. Yeah, then you can do things like save. Okay, so this I am actually going to leave up. So if you, so hopefully I'll have a recording, I'll upload it, and then you'll still be able to do this. I'll leave it up over the weekend, actually, because I think this is actually going to be okay. All right, I'll see everyone next class. So this will be up until Thursday, probably, yeah. And yeah, I'll stick around and help people debug. Until people leave, I won't shut the first level down. So I think if you haven't done that first level, go ahead and do that now, and I'll stick around for as long as people need to get that first level done. And then when I shut down the Zoom, I'll shut down the first level. I'll leave the second level up, and then you can finish that just before next class. We are finished because 4.5 I have to do synchronously. So next class, we're going to do the EC2